Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for joining, everybody. I'm really happy to have you here today. You'll probably notice today that it's a little bit a different setup from the webinars that we usually have. We're not going to have any slides. We don't have a step-by-step, let's say, learning goals prepared. It's going to be a really nice chat or talk that Paul and I will have. So really looking forward to that. I'm gonna need to introduce first of all Paul and then myself. So Paul, I'm just gonna briefly introduce you, and then I'll leave the rest for you. There's a lot of exciting stuff for us to talk about today, but basically you are our guest today. A few quick things about yourself. You are a 4th degree black belt in Kung Fu Wing Chun. You have been doing martial arts for more than 40 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Almost 40 years.
Okay, almost 40 years. But it's not just like about the physical stuff. It's more about the psychology, the mental progress, the personal development behind it.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm sure you're going to tell us all about this in a bit. You also owned your company. You worked in corporates.
Yes.
But the main thing that we can know about you is that you also are more of a coach, and you have worked with the police academy in Amsterdam, for example, and
corporations.
So
yes, individuals. Yes.
The reason we have Paul here with us today is because, of course, Paul and I have met maybe a month ago, or a little bit more than that.
Just about a month. Yeah.
Just about a month, and it was at a seminar directed, or what? Yeah, he was talking about stress and how to manage stress in the workplace, but also from a martial arts point of view and the mental development or progress that happens with that. And I honestly was fascinated. And after the seminar, I asked him if he could be one of our guests at Growth Tribe, and I thought all of you guys would also benefit from it. So I'm not gonna take any more of both of our times and your time for the introductions, but okay. For those who don't know me, thank you. For those who don't know me, my name is Alain, and I'm a growth marketing trainer here at Growth Tribe. I've been doing it for almost 3 years, and the growth mindset has been like a big part of my journey at Growth Tribe, and of course with all the participants that we've trained as well. So we're gonna kind of like connect all the dots. Today, talk about stress management, mental progress, personal development, the growth mindset, and yeah, can't wait to kick it off.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and also thank you for the invitation.
Yes, of course. Thank you for coming.
I appreciate it, and I think it's also really great what you guys do, because I think growth is extremely important. I think everyone agrees with that. That's why you're here as well. And yeah, in martial mind mastery, the methodology that I developed over the last 21 years, which is really a combination of modern Western science, neuroscience, psychology, high performance training, leadership, and then infused, combined with my indeed almost 40 years of martial arts training. As a young child, I was really always very interested in the physical side, because I started quite young. And as I slowly grew older and challenges in life became a lot bigger, I got more and more interested in indeed what you mentioned, the whole personal development side.
Yeah.
So I developed a roadmap to self-mastery. Now, when I say self-mastery, the paradox in self-mastery is that you never really master yourself. It's a continuous journey, and that's a humble realization.
Yeah.
And I think that's great what you guys do here too. I believe your slogan is, of course, something always learning.
Always be learning.
Always learning. So I
gets really tiring at some point. You want to take a break, but
very important to take those breaks.
Yeah.
We can talk about that.
We will.
As well. So my main focus for the last couple of years has really been on stress reduction as part of the methodology. It's not the whole thing, but I think if you look right now at society, it's quite a big stressful factor in a lot of people's life. In the United States, I don't know if we have anyone from the United States, but in the United States, for example, you're looking at over 500 billion US dollars spent annually for corporations, that is, and also for medical bills and everything. It's costing society around 500 billion. US dollars annually, and over 60% of the population is suffering from severe stress.
Severe stress.
Severe, yes, severe to extreme.
Yeah.
So, and self-medicating, doing all kinds of prescribed and non-prescription drugs, all kinds of ways of combating stress. So we're here in Europe. So in Europe, you're looking at roughly 700 billion. So I think around a little over 600 billion euros spent annually to combat stress or costing corporations. So that's just the financial side. And it's roughly 50% of the population. That's the financial side, which is, of course, terrible. It's affecting individuals, communities, societies, children.
The whole economy.
Everybody. And the whole economy, definitely. But just imagine, indeed, also what it's doing to the individuals. So to me, that's what I'm more interested in. And the beauty of martial arts is, yes, it's meant for combat, you could say, out on the street and on the mat. But you can translate that into real life. If you look at the warriors, and I'm talking back like 400 years ago, when they were out on the battlefield, they, of course, couldn't be worried about what's going on there, what's happening there, who's doing that, because that meant immediate death. So under extreme circumstances, they knew when they went to bed at night, that could be the last time to go into bed. They knew when they woke up in the morning, that could be the last time they're waking up, and someone was going home dead or alive. So that's quite stressful. And they couldn't go into fight or flight. Everyone, of course, heard or is aware of fight or flight.
For those who don't know it, can you like briefly tell us what is fight, flight?
Yes, so you have fight, flight, faint, freeze, and there's also fawn, which is like pleasing, but the main ones are the fight or flight. So this is a stress response. And we're going to get into that a little bit later from what is stress response and what is causing stress. So when you're in immediate danger, then all kinds of things happen to you mentally, physiology, chemicals released in your body. So your heart rate goes up, your blood vessels narrow, your inflammation rate goes up, causing all kinds of diseases. The blood is pumped to your arms and legs. That makes you stronger and faster. And of course, everyone knows that the stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, are dumped in large doses into your body. Your immune system virtually shuts down. Cell renewal, also and cell repair, virtually shuts down, because when you're running from a tiger for survival, you don't need all that. And one thing people often forget, the blood also, it leaves your brain, not 100%, of course, but it's, like I said, it's mainly pumped to your arms and legs. So from research, it's shown that your IQ drops anywhere between 40 and 60%, depending on the individual.
Wow.
So that's quite a lot. So you also become hyper-focused. Hyper-focused, which means your creativity also shuts down. You can't be creative when you're running from a tiger. You can't like, oh, what should we do? So the options become very limited. And you're always looking at the worst case scenario, worst possible scenario, because that's for survival. So in nature, to survive running from an animal, this is great. So let's not completely debunk stress. There are situations in life where it could actually save your life. However, we're actually the only species in nature that can lie around and think about things that happened a few weeks ago. You know, we can lie in our bed and think about something that happened a few weeks ago, get stressed about it. You won't see a lion lying around in the savannah thinking about a fight he got into a couple of weeks ago and get stressed about it, or thinking about a fight that's going to happen. So when I say lying around, I was actually referring to the lions. We humans can be in any situation, sitting behind our computer, dealing with other people. So there are far more healthier ways of dealing with stress, because stress is not meant for prolonged periods of time. It's extremely damaging. You could say it's the number one killer. It's causing, as I mentioned, all kinds of other diseases. So what we really want to look at is healthier tools in dealing with stress.
Amazing intro. All right. There's so many things I want to ask you and for us to talk about, but basically, I want to start with the importance of being calm. And of course, the main topic of our webinar today is stress at the workplace. And I'm sure a lot of people are interested in knowing, like, how can you manage stress at the workplace specifically? But of course, this will be reflected in every other areas of your life. So what is the martial arts principle that applies to stress management, basically?
Well, good question. It's a combination of martial arts principles and also, as I mentioned, from Western psychology. So first of all, I'm going to make a bold statement that might cause some reactions, which fine, we can talk about it in the last 15 or 20 minutes. And that is bringing the awareness, this is the first step, that no situation, circumstances, events, or individual actually causes stress. I can say it louder for people in the back.
Say it again.
So actually no circumstance, no event, no situation, or no other individual is actually the cause of stress. They are stimulants, they are trigger points. They can cause a reaction in you, and you react to that with stress. But at the end of the day, it's our own internal reaction to that, which really means the thought that we attach to the event, the circumstance, the individual, the thought, and then the meaning we give to that thought, and then the emotion. So why can some people be in a seemingly very stressful situation and be extremely stressed about it? And other individual can be very calm in the situation? Does that mean they're not interested in it at all, or they're just not emotionally attached to themselves? My answer would be no. There are tools, and we're going to do some of them. I'll offer an exercise that we can do towards the end. So stick around.
We're going to have an exercise for it.
Yes, and I want to stress, by the way, wrong choice of words. That the methodology that I actually offered is for people who are not necessarily interested at all in martial arts. Great if you are, it's kind of a prep, but you don't have to be. You don't have to go to any school and actually follow a martial arts training. It's more that I've distilled the whole mental, emotional side from it, the mind part from it. So if people don't want to go to train Kung Fu or do any martial art, that's fine. It's still just as effective. So the exercise I will give is just really a form of meditation or breathing. And everyone's probably very well aware of different forms of breathing. It's a slightly different one. We're going to do it standing. And I can also offer some tools for the mental side. So the importance of calmness. When you're calm, I teach children as well, starting at 4 years old. So you'll often hear me giving examples that are appropriate to children, but I think work well with all audience of all ages.
Absolutely.
I once brought in one of these snowballs or glass balls. I always forget the name of them.
I also
glass balls. So we know them, right? So
shake and then like it's snowing with inside the ball.
Yes. So you have like a little village or Christmas thing, and you shake it, and you can't see anything. And then when you stop shaking it, slowly the snowflakes go down. And what do you actually get? The first word that would come to mind is clarity. So when you come from a calm state of mind, if we go back to the fight or flight, your blood pressure goes down, your heart rate goes down, your immune system is once again activated, your cell renewal, there's enough blood flowing to your brain. So you can actually make more informed decisions. So from a place of calmness, we operate better. When we're like this, contracted with our muscles, and in Kung Fu, I can show exercise when someone's like this, I can move them around with my pink. When they're relaxed, when they're calm. Bruce Lee said it. Be like water.
We're gonna get into
when you get there, I'm spoiler. Okay. So the calmness is a superpower. I believe we're also in a society where calmness and relaxation, we wouldn't say, oh, wow, that's a strength. So we want to see people with grit and perseverance, and that's all good. I'm not judging that or knocking that, and also has its place. So there are moments in life, of course, where we have to move fast, act fast. We got deadlines, and that perhaps brings us to the next point, because I've now been talking about, hey, what can you do yourself? Well, it does start with yourself. Right? So in Kung Fu, we refer to that as the first battle. The first battle is conquering yourself. When the warriors went out to battle, like I said, if they're only busy about their opponent who's doing this, doing that, and maybe they're really good in Kung Fu, but they haven't overcome their limiting beliefs. They're not able to act from a place of calmness. they're insecure, they have no emotional regulation, then obviously that's going to hinder them.
Yeah.
The same is in life. So the first battle was mastering yourself, conquering yourself. And that's the ongoing journey.
Back to the warriors on the battlefield. Back then, that was their battlefield. It was the war.
Exactly.
Today, I mean, I don't wanna like downgrade any horrific action that is undertaken in wars, but we kind of have our own wars.
Definitely, good point.
Especially at the workplace nowadays. We have different people in our, like different types of people in our teams. Everybody is unique. The management has a different perspective. Team leaders have different perspective than employees, different priorities. So many things actually.
Just hearing this gets me stressed.
Yeah, exactly. So many things actually like you have to be aware of it. And this is the awareness part that I love that you mentioned, because we also kind of teach the same thing. The first thing that we teach in growth marketing, and anyone who's seen me and one of my webinars before, the first step of the customer journey, the pilot funnel, is awareness. When people land on your website, they get to actually know what you're about and what you have to offer and all that. So awareness is pretty much the first step into anything, especially when battling stress. Everybody here probably have heard of Bruce Lee before. He's not just a famous actor, but he's famous for his martial arts contribution to the movies that
definitely to the West, bring martial arts to the Western world.
Exactly.
And the philosophy indeed.
Absolutely. But it's so that's what I wanted to say. It's not just about the movies. There's a lot of philosophy behind it that he was able to like also learn and grow from himself.
Definitely.
But one of his famous quotes is that be like water. If you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put it in a bottle, it becomes the bottle. So what does that mean?
Good point. I love the question, obviously, because it's about Bruce Lee as well, but it's a great question. And if it's okay, we backtrack a little to the beginning of what you were just mentioning about we're in our different situations in our workforce and all these things. So definitely, this is not to say anything negative about war, which of course is very negative. We're talking about our own battles. And I hope nobody here is involved in any form of war or anything like that. However, life is also a battle.
It is.
So right now we're not about comparison, but we're talking about our own individual journey, but also in cooperation with others, of course. So the first battle in conquering yourself is the first step before we can really effectively deal with external situations. So that's definitely the awareness. And that's really, to go into that right away, is becoming like water. And often people think of water as being weak, but water is actually the strongest element. In Kung Fu, we work with water, wind, earth, and fire. Wind can be air, of course.
Can you just say that again?
Yes.
If you don't mind, and also if you can briefly explain what every element means.
Yes. So I'll very briefly explain, because I didn't want to go too much detail about martial arts. We have soft internal styles and hard external styles. I respect all martial arts. It's not for me to say one is better than the other. If you look at like kickboxing and boxing and Muay Thai, these are more hard external styles, and you have more Tai Chi and Wing Chun, what I do, that are soft internal style. So the hard external styles rely more on the earth, standing firm and grounded, and brute physical power and how much you weigh, and on fire. And if you look at like Tai Chi, it comes from calmness and relaxation. It's more
the wind. Okay.
Yes, Wing Chun involves actually, and actually way back, so did Tai Chi, but that's a different story. So the Wing Chun has all four of the elements. So the water is the fluid. It's actually the strongest element.
Okay.
I'll tell children, try to break water. You can't. And like you just nicely explained, it adapts to its environment. And wind is more the turning of the hip and the waist and the shoulders and the major joints. So if you see someone out in the park doing Tai Chi, I hope I won't move my hands. No, it's good. It's all, mainly water and wind. A more maybe macho way of explaining the water is you can compare it, as far as the body is concerned, is like the shock absorbers under your car. So when the car goes over the road, I'm looking at the screen, you guys over there. When it doesn't go bam, bam, bam over the road, although some cars may, but that's not a nice car. So it absorbs. It doesn't fight the road. It doesn't mean it gives into it, but it absorbs it. And then the wind, like I said, is moving. So you could say as far as the mental, emotional side of water and wind are more the calm, relaxed, being less reactive and more responsive. And the earth and fire is, like I said, it's not moving. This is my being. That's the way it is. You'll see that in traffic a lot, at least in Holland.
Yeah.
People could be very friendly. They actually are quite friendly. And then they get behind their steering wheels and it's honking at earth and fire. And that's all stress. Now, that doesn't mean that earth and fire is necessarily bad. There are moments where you have to stand your ground.
Yes.
And you want to be grounded
Yes.
in the things you do. And the moments you have to move fast or maybe put some passion into something. However, in general, you want to be more kind, compassionate, but it doesn't mean you allow people to walk over you. You still have the earth element present.
So from what I'm hearing, the earth element is more about being assertive, standing your ground, defending yourself when needed.
Yes.
The water element is more about adapting and also flexible.
Yes.
Looking for different perspectives, maybe as
Definitely. Perspective taking. Yes.
Okay.
Empathy, compassion.
And now I want to, if you don't mind, relate them to stress.
Yes.
So can you just let me know or let us know how this can relate to stress and
in the workforce, perhaps. So if you look at what you mentioned in the beginning about, okay, so we can do this for ourselves. We can sit in the quiet of our home and peaceful and be very calm and then we get into our working environment. Yeah. So that is definitely a challenge. So in Kung Fu, that's referred to as the second battle.
Yes. Okay.
But obviously, if we're only fighting the second battle, our fighting is perhaps not the right word, but it's Kung Fu. Mm-hmm. If that's our only challenge, if that's our challenge that we're predominantly focusing our energy on, but we haven't overcome ourselves yet, so we don't have the emotional regulation, we don't have the calmness, we're not able to relax, then we're always going to be fighting everything. So the realization comes that we don't have control over the second battle. So this is really relating to using the elements to recognize them in yourself, but then also to recognize them in others and realize that everybody is fighting a battle. And then I forget who said this, but all communication is either a communication, a cry for help, or an expression of love. Forget who said that, it's not my quote, but so all communication is an expression of love or cry for help. So when we see people stressed, doesn't mean we allow people to walk over us. We do set our boundaries. Careful with my hands, but in Kung Fu, we put our hands like this. We don't stand like that, like, oh, there we go.
You know what?
So we refer to this as your gate, your garden, your house, and you allow people into your garden that you want to. So it doesn't mean we want to fight. So if someone puts a fist, we don't put up our fist. We also go like, oh, I do Kung Fu. Mm-hmm. So it's more relaxed. I don't mean to insult any Italians here. It's nothing personal, but I often refer to it as like kind of talking like an Italian. So we have our hands out in front of our body. So this is recognizing in ourselves. And then we start recognizing, if we are able to recognize it in ourselves, then of course you gain the skills, the tools to start recognizing elements in other people. And then it really comes down to the quality of communication. Mm-hmm. I would even go as far as say the quality of life comes down, and there's two communications going on. To the quality of communication, you have your internal communication, and this goes more into psychology. We have the emotional triad, which is the words you use. Like, this is terrible, this is the end of the world.
How, like, this is very strong. This is very strong. I've seen many talks that talk about the power of words. And honestly, like, sometimes this is, in my opinion, disregarded. Like, the power of words is disregarded in most places. And we can't, like, we don't remember how powerful the words that we either talk to ourselves with or to other people with are. So, yeah, can you?
Very powerful, very good point. Yes, I won't go too deep in that, but it is actually a very valid point, and perhaps we should go deeper into it.
Like, when you talk to your coworkers at the office, what you say to them is very important. What you say to yourself before and after a meeting, maybe, or after a presentation, matters. Like, it really does.
Yes, we do have such thing as not necessarily bad, sometimes we use them, but negative words that have a negative impact on individuals and more positive words. But it goes further than that. There's even research now in America. You know, what was his name? The Dr. Amoto, who did probably saying that wrong, excuse me. You guys know what I mean with the water He put negative words with water molecules, froze them, and after that, the shapes were different. So they're doing right now in the United States, more than 1,000 schools have done this research where they have petri dishes and they put a seed in it and they water it. And one of the petri dishes, they only say you're bad, you're terrible, you can't do anything, you're useless. And the other one, they say you're great, you're doing well. Now, I can't go into all the research and the science behind this. I'm not claiming to be an expert in it anyway, but the petri dish, they got all the negative attention and words, the plant grew really bad in all instances. It wasn't like 50-50, it was like 100%. The leaves grew upside down.
Yeah.
It grew terrible. And the one where they used positive words, it flourished. So we have a lot of water in our body as well. So the power of communication is so important that we're able to see perhaps that someone's communicating, expressing their love, or they're dealing with their own internal battle. And in nonviolent communication, which is nonviolent communication, which is from Marshall Rosenberg, which is part of the Marshall Mind Mastery methodology, we learn to, first of all, observe what someone's doing. So someone might come in and slam the door. And then we put a lot of focus on the slamming of the door. But the slamming of the door was really just a symptom of something else. So we put our energy in there, you did this. Then we're just putting out little fires all the time. Instead, we look at the feeling that is being expressed. So we recognize that. Okay, so they're expressing, well, obviously anger here, or is it frustration, or is it disappointment, or sadness, exactly. And then the need behind it, perhaps they just want more, that communication's clear.
It's a cry for help.
Or more feedback. It's that cry for help, indeed. So when we observe first, and then recognize the feeling behind it, and then see the unmet need, then we can come to an effective action plan. So it's really the quality of communication. Now, if you're in a company that has no interest in reducing stress, that's a big challenge, of course. So ideally, of course, the corporation or the decision makers are on board and know the science behind it, that when people are calm, relaxed, you heard the figures in the beginning. Corporate America is spending roughly 500 billion. Europe is spending in euros over 600 billion on sick leave, absentee, all stress related. And these figures, by the way, are not just they're spending it on something. This money is being spent on stress related issues. Then we realize as corporations, as society, we have a responsibility. And in fact, more than a responsibility, even for the bottom line, it's positive. Because people have more enjoyment in their work, so they perform better. They don't have the continuous hyperfocus, although you might sometimes need some hyperfocus for short periods of time. That's perhaps a different topic. That sometimes for a short period of time, a little bit of stress
is okay.
But in general, when you're calm, you're more creative, you're more open-minded. You're able, if you feel that you're in an environment that is safe to communicate, to talk, there's no fear involved. People thrive. They don't survive only. It's more than that. We're not talking about survival here. So we're no longer on the battlefield as far as that's concerned. We're talking about thriving. So we thrive better. Our immune system as a whole, our mind, our emotions, our decision-making, our clarity, all improves from a place of calmness.
This is something that I would love to have as a bridge into the growth mindset, which, if you don't mind, I'd like to touch a little bit on. Sure. And with the growth mindset that we also teach here at Growth Tribe, it's a very important mindset to adapt, but you cannot adapt it like this. Like it needs a little bit of time for you to understand, become aware of what it is and how it happens and how it can help you grow at the end. But basically, what the growth mindset is it's a way for you to be okay to fail with every experiment that you do, either with yourself or at work or anywhere else, that will help you learn, become aware of what it is, and then based on the data on what you learn, you can improve with the next step. So that is basically what the growth mindset is all about.
I can relate to that.
Exactly. So calmness and awareness and reflecting on the effort that you've put in, the challenge that is in front of you, and your willingness to learn, for me, it's all related.
Yes.
I can also like give a small example that I like had here at the office just a couple of weeks after we've had our seminar, your seminar basically, which I attended. But basically, I was like, I became aware of the fact that, okay, I need to take a step back.
Yes.
And resharpen the axe before cutting the tree, basically. Just take a step back, reflect, see what is happening like with the first battle, and how can I approach the things that or my tasks differently from a different perspective. And then I was able to like, okay, let me look for those perspectives. And then the team lead here in my team like was really kind to like have that talk with me, and I was able to look at things from his perspective, from the leadership perspective, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes more sense now. Like I see why they're doing this. I see like how I can improve, how I can help with this, and how I can contribute. And this actually, instead of me being like this and
contracted
and kind of like a little bit afraid of a little bit afraid of the unknown or what's to come or whatever, I was able to like, okay, take a deep breath and like find my way through this. So
it was all thanks to the seminar, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
So this is like the awareness part for me is also very important, and I also like started learning about this years ago, but it's tough to implement. So what I wanted to say here, like take a second and say, is that what we're talking about here is definitely like proven that it could work and it would work, but the thing is that it's not a magic wand. So nothing will happen overnight. Nothing will be fixed overnight. What you're gonna want to do is consistently work at this.
The mother of mastery is repetition.
Exactly. And also you say this a lot, slow is fast and fast is slow. Take things slow, learn the techniques, which hopefully
we can give a few
at the end. But
at least one.
Take it step by step. It's like learning anything. If you want to learn a musical instrument, you have to take it step by step. If you want to go to the gym, you take it step by step. It's not like working out for 9 hours a day will give you what you want or the look or the health that you want. It's like for long periods consistently, and this will hopefully get you to where you want to be. But it all starts with the awareness.
Yes. That's in a way. That's how we started off, and you're correct. So if you're not aware, of course, of what needs to be changed, then change is very challenging.
Or how to change it.
Definitely. That's
number two.
Yeah. Well, maybe even three, because in fact you have the awareness, and then of course there has to really be the commitment.
Yes.
I think the commitment is underrated. So going for any new skill or growing, you have to commit. Commit also means cutting out a lot of other things. So there has to be the awareness of what your situation is, and then perhaps the awareness of what needs to be changed, and then the willingness and the commitment. And the commitment gives you the courage, because when you're not really committed, it's raining. I'm not going to go to the gym. Or never mind the stress. I'll have the unhealthy meal or whatever. So the commitment gives you the courage, and the courage gives you the capabilities, which then gives you the confidence. Those 4 steps are, by the way, from Dan Sullivan, which is a strategic coaching. Great, but that's a great order. I put 1 step in front of it, which is the awareness. So we start with the awareness. This has to change.
Step number 1.
Yes, and then the willingness to actually change. So you put in the effort. That's the commitment.
Yeah.
You have to be committed. Anything you're not fully committed to, it's not really going to change.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not enough to watch one webinar and say, okay, I'll try. It's not working for me. And when we do the exercise, by the way, before I forget, a lot of people who do relaxation exercise or calmness exercise sometimes even get a little bit more stress in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Right?
Am I doing it correct?
Yeah.
Is anybody watching?
Yes. The first time I tried.
A lot of self-awareness happens, which is fine. It's part of the process. The techniques I learned, you don't have to sit and meditate for half an hour or an hour or anything like that. They can be very short. So there's the awareness that something in my life needs to change. And maybe that's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure there's also people who've done a lot of these practices or done yoga and are very calm and very relaxed and like, I'm actually fine. So it's not for me, of course, or anybody else to say, That's always an own personal choice. It has to be intrinsic.
Mhm.
Not like I think you should do this. If it's just a manager or a boss tells you, you might reflect on it.
Yeah, and
You can reflect on it.
actually, you mentioned this in a. I'm just gonna quickly compare
Yes.
this to something that you mentioned in the seminar. You said that if someone, if like, let's say a fight breaks out on the street, someone
Yes.
wants to fight you,
Yes.
like that's from a martial arts perspective. The first thing that you don't want to do is tell them to chill.
Yes. Yes. You want to use, indeed, that's a good point you brought up, which also in all communication is to talk far more also from I.
Mhm.
I'm not, you can go to someone, a coworker, or even a boss, say, you're doing this and you're doing this. Nobody likes to be told what to do,
Yeah.
even if it's justified.
Even if it's true. Yeah.
Even if it's true. And indeed, a good point, in an aggressive situation, if someone's in front of you, you're saying, you step back. I don't like what do you mean? Telling me what to do?
Yeah.
So, but even in, come on, let's be honest, even in personal relationships and in the workforce, when we're pointing the finger,
Yeah.
even if it's true, and sometimes perhaps maybe the finger does have to be pointed, but in
Exceptional.
general, it's you'll communicate far more effective when you explain what it means to you. So it works reverse when you observe and then look at the feeling, look at the need behind it, and then the action plan. You also do that with yourself. So right now I'm feeling this, not because you were doing this, you could relate it somewhat when someone says this or communicates in this fashion, it causes this reaction in me. So it's not that you can't direct it towards the person all, but at that point, you're not telling them necessarily you got to stop them. You're more reflecting the impact it has on you. So that's a little side step back to what we were talking earlier. So the awareness, to get back there, to make it clear, I mean, people can watch this again anyway, but
Yes.
we have the awareness, then you have the commitment. Be fully committed to whatever you do, be fully committed. That gives you the courage, even when times are difficult, even when it's raining, you still go out, you're committed.
I'm looking at one of the chat comments.
Yes.
Jose is saying, I think commitment is much more difficult to conquer than awareness. Absolutely,
Yes.
Absolutely correct.
I'm aware to some degree.
What we're doing right now is hopefully bringing awareness to like the techniques that you can use, the mindset that you can adopt, and so on. But even with companies that have taken some of our courses, like we tell them that yes, the growth mindset is something that you need to adapt, but we never expect them to like adapt it.
It's a personal choice.
It's a personal choice, and like it needs to be an intrinsic motivation.
It has to be. So to comment on the commitment part, I agree. Because we're all somewhat to a degree aware, right? So the commitment is you really have to look at the strong why. You really have to be all in. So that has to be clear. So before commitment, you could actually say comes really clarity.
Yeah.
But this is like the shorter version of the step. So you really have to be very, very clear on what it is you are committing to. And we all know that Simon Sinek talks about a lot, the big why, right? So the whole, one of the most watched TED Talks on it. The why, you have to find an intrinsic purpose that compels you, that pulls you forward rather than pushes you.
Absolutely.
For example, when people want to stop smoking and they talk about, I got to stop smoking, no one likes to stop doing something.
Yeah, I'm not a quitter. I'm not a quitter.
I'm not a quitter. I like that one. Yes, I'm not a quitter. So that's not compelling to get up in the morning and say, yes, today I'm going to stop smoking. That's not. So instead you look at, hey, I want to be a healthy grandfather for my children. I want to feel great. I want to be able to run to the bus and feel good about myself, have clear lungs, not be caught. So you go to the deeper purpose, the one that actually compels you and excites you. So I'm a big favor of having like a journal. I always keep journals, by the way. And where you write down, you bring it out to the physical world. Yeah. Because a lot of our commitments we keep here, or maybe we write it down briefly, but you put down clearly, this is what you want to do. That's the what, but then the why behind it. And if the why is strong enough, then the commitment will stay. If the why is shaky, it's easy. Yeah. So goal setting is very important as well. Big goals, big goals.
Big goals.
Yes.
I want to talk about this briefly, if that's okay, because there's so many things that we also want to talk about in the next 15 minutes. But goal setting, if you said big goals in growth marketing, for example, what we teach is that when you want to set goals, you have to set SMART goals, so specific, measurable, and maybe the thing that contradicts with big goals here is realistic.
Yes.
So can you maybe?
Yes. Well, first of all, to backtrack a little bit, I liked what you said about the. Okay, sorry, I got a little sip of water.
Yes, please.
Oh, go away.
This is real.
So I like what you said about thank you, about when you encourage someone. Yes, I did refresh my memory as well and get some clarity here. So when you said about praising the effort,
Yes,
this has to do with it as well. So when you praise the effort, you're giving someone the opportunity to think bigger. Because when you actually just tell them, okay, like you said, actually, so I'm just kind of repeating what you said. When you say, okay, I like what you did here, like we do, they kind of, okay, then that's what they want, and I'll kind of stick to that. And realize there's no such thing as failure.
yeah,
Of course, so it's who we become. So it's the journey towards us. So let's say you set a realistic small goal. Let's just pretend, whatever, I want to gain two kilos in muscle. Great. Now, what if instead you set the goal that within a year, I want to gain 10 kilos. So this is already going to limit your options, because 2 kilos, maybe you just have to add one more rep. Maybe you train 10 minutes longer. So the beauty of setting these big goals is you'll definitely also get those realistic goals. But there's more likelihood, far more likelihood, a lot of research has been done on this, that by setting a big goal, you really go into the 80-20 rule, where 80% of what you're doing is really wasting your time, and 80% of your results come from 20% of what you're doing. But if your goal is very small, once again, Dan Sullivan, together with Dan Hardy, I believe, 10 times bigger, great book, recommended to everybody, talks about setting 10 times bigger goals. When we say we want 2% growth, then we only change things here and there. When we say I want to become 10 times bigger, people often don't do this for the fear of failing.
fear of failure.
And unfortunately, that's the wrong attitude, because there's no such thing as failure. You will grow. You will grow. You will become a better person. You will know more. You will have learned things during that course. I mean, we all know it, right? We learn from instant insights or from pain.
Pain mainly.
Pain for a lot of people, pain is the main place, struggle, pain. And then we have sometimes the instant insights. I forget the Japanese, sorry, Chinese, we use different words. So we learn from this growth. So it's not about, if I don't reach that big goal, what if I say I want to make 1 million more by next year and I don't reach it, I've failed. No, you will have learned so many new skills, so many new tools.
And you probably have reached something. Yeah,
definitely have reached more, because you become a specialist. It's like going to the doctor. You want to go to a doctor for your nose or your ears, and then a different one. You have specialists. When you say 2%, then there's so many different roads. When I say, this is my goal, I have to become 10 kilos bigger, then I don't have time for X amount of hours on Netflix. I don't have time for certain friends or situations that are draining my energy. So there's things that give you energy. Big goals, and this may be the most important part, big goals give you the energy, they energize you. In the end, everything is energy. If you don't have the full commitment, if you're not energized, it's not going to happen. And the big goals give you that energy. And if you look at smaller goals, they don't. No, especially if we don't really like a lot of it. What we have to do, it's mundane. So get rid of as much irritating things in your life as possible that are draining your energy, and systemize as much as possible that you can, the mundane things, and put the majority of your focus on those things that fascinate you and inspire you, provided what the budget allows.
I love that, because it directly relates to what we teach in data, for example. So one main thing, and this is from the book Lean Analytics, if you also recommended for data geeks out there, I'm included, but basically that big yearly goal that you talked about, this is what we call the North Star metric. And it's there because, yes, this is where we want to get, let's say, in a year. And then what do we do? We will say that, okay, in the first month or two of the year, we will focus on one metric that matters the most in this specific date range. And that one metric that matters, we will start coming up with experiment ideas to tackle them and improve them. So to me, it sounds pretty much Similar.
The truth is the truth, right?
Yeah,
So it's they say, I forget who said this as well. I know a lot of quotes by someone who forget them. So never set more than 3 goals.
Yeah.
And any more than 3 is not realistic. To give you a clear example, if you set for the year 7 goals, then your energy is all over the place.
Yeah.
And you'll probably never get really any of them. And you'll put a little bit here, a little bit there. Now, if you set 3, and also, by the way, if you get 5, you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
So by setting 3 doesn't mean it's not possible that maybe a 4th or 5th goal will be obtained, but it'll be a bonus.
Yeah.
I say that to people that come training.
Yeah.
Some of them, they start really enthusiastic.
Yeah.
You as well, which I love. Keep it up. And they say, I'm going to come 5 times a week. And then they come 4 times a week, or even 3, and they feel like they failed.
Yeah.
I always tell people to come to the Kung Fu, come 2 times a week, average. That you can keep up. And that's not thinking small, by the way, because these 3 goals can be very big. Your 3 goals could be that by next year, I want to make 10 million euros. I want to have the best relationship ever.
Yeah.
And I want to have the fittest body. I want to be 10 kilos more and muscle or lose weight, whatever your goal is. And then indeed, you break them into quarterly goals. So you have no more than 3 quarterly goals, which are like sub goals of 3 big ones.
What do I need to do to
Yes.
achieve that? Yeah.
3 per week,
Yeah.
and then 3 little goals per day.
Yeah.
Never have more than 3 little goals per day. And then you'll go home feeling like a success.
Absolutely. First, I would like to do the exercise.
Yes.
Show everybody how, what sort of breathing meditation
It's a
exercise
mind,
that we
body,
do.
emotion.
To me, this is the most important part of the webinar. So
Yes.
take a minute, just follow us. It's not rocket science. It's just a little bit of breathing exercises, but Paul will take us through it. I will get out of the camera and give you some
I
space.
hope everyone's well insured.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's actually very basic. We in Chinese, I'm going to step back a little bit. Oh, we can't see my feet right now, but maybe that's not important. You can keep, or maybe put the screen down a little bit, just so you see I'm standing shoulder width. Just so that's fine. That's perfect. Thank you. So in Kung Fu, we refer to this as standing pose, San Shuang, and the purpose is to reach a state of Song. I'm looking at the camera there, right? To reach a state of Song, not a song like singing song. And Song is getting rid of all unnecessary tension, mentally and physically. So believe it or not, actually, the Spartans used to do this, Native American Indian warriors used to do this, Chinese warriors, to create more calmness, relaxation, and grounding. So like I said, doesn't matter what your physical abilities are, you can do this sitting down, even if you're limited to, for any reason, to sitting down, you can do this exercise sitting down, and this focus more on the upper body. But for those who are standing, feel free to get up and join. We're not going to do any really weird things. Everybody can do this. I still teach actively about 20 hours in a Kung Fu school, in a worldwide organization. We do this every single lesson in the beginning. So the first thing we want to do is make sure we're standing in a healthy, correct posture, which is shoulder width. For ladies, it's actually hip width. So if you're generally speaking, ladies' hips are a little wider, but shoulder width is already fine. And then we want to bring our shoulders up, back, and down so that they're relaxed. And we also want to relax our chest. We call this lok bok, you don't have to remember these names, and hum hong, empty chest. Now, what I'm doing, I'm standing sideways, you don't have to, is I'm also straightening out my lower back. So I'm bending my knees a little bit. I don't want to lean forward onto my knees. That's bad for your knees. Always make sure when there's weight on your leg that it's above your knee, or you'll damage your knees, not in one go, but over a long period. So I'm standing shoulder width. To exaggerate, I don't stand that much, but everyone has kind of an S. So to exaggerate, you don't want to be standing like this, right? So what you want to do is straighten out the lower back like this. So it's kind of like sitting down on like a little stool right behind you. So you go straight down and you see if you can get rid of the curve out of your back. So we can see the S here exaggerated. And I don't want to go down and tilt the hip forward because then I lock the hip. So what I do is I go down slightly. And if necessary, you could tilt it slightly. So now this is all one straight line. Okay, so I'm shoulder width, shoulders are up, back, and down. And then I can just relax my hand against my body. In Kung Fu, we actually put our thumbs on our thighs and middle finger here, create some space on the armpit. Some people find this a little awkward standing like this. Also feel just to relax the arms. Now, I was looking up at the screen. The order of Song is the mental calmness produces the physical relaxation. The physical relaxation will produce sinking. It's kind of like a dead weight. It sinks. It's like you're going through quicksand. Don't physically continually sink. You only go down a little bit. You don't want to go into a squat because you want to keep the lower back straight. But you want to visualize, almost like candle wax, everything relaxing. It's kind of like your body's hanging on a coat hanger. Your skeleton's a coat hanger. So you're not standing like this to exaggerate. You're also not collapsed. You have minimum amount of tension to stand up straight. So the first step, once again, is the calmness produces the physical relaxation. The physical relaxation will produce the sinking eventually. And then the sinking will produce the grounding. Your feet start feeling heavier. And then in Kung Fu, when there's opponent, the grounding will produce the rebounding, and you can transfer energy. So that's an exercise you can do together. I don't know how many people are together right now, so we'll just keep to the solo exercise. But obviously, this is the first stage. Now, when I say that calmness produces relaxation, some people are going, "You're calmness, that's the whole point. I'm not calm." So the easiest way to calm the mind, which most of you probably know already, is to focus on your breathing. You want to make sure you're taking slow, deep breaths from your lower abdomen and midriff. When I ask people to take deep breaths, especially ones that are very stressed, I often see this. That's actually reverse breathing. So that activates your sympathetic nervous system, which activates the fight or flight. And it's actually a biochemical reaction. So it's not just like mindfulness and stress is something floaty, as they say in Holland. It actually activates and produces different chemicals in your body. So when you're stressed, emotional, angry, your breathing goes up. Everybody knows this, right? When you're crying, it all goes up. So we want to do the reverse, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calmness of the mind and the relaxation of the body. So you do this as a first step, especially if your mind is very stressful, by focusing on the lower abdomen breathing. So it's not just the belly button going out. It is kind of the Buddha belly, I often say. So you don't have to walk over the beach in summer breathing like this, but for now it's good. And the midriff, this whole area expands. So you can first put your hands kind of on your sides. You don't have to have your fingers all the way in the center. Just put your hands on your sides. You can feel a little bit the front of your stomach and the sides. And when you breathe in, this whole area should expand, kind of like the inside of a tire. And then it relaxes again. Now you can choose to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, tongue touching your palate. Whole theory behind that has to do with the energy flow. If you want to keep it basic, breathe in through your nose, filter the air, and breathe out through your mouth. That's also fine. The idea is, though, that we're taking slow, deep breaths, approximately 4 seconds in, and ideally 6 seconds out. You want to get rid of the carbon dioxide. So you want to make sure you're breathing out longer than you're actually breathing in. Okay, don't get stressed about that or hung up about that. Just make sure you're taking, like, you can even count the breaths, like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and then you breathe out. All right, so around that rhythm, but don't get caught up on it. However, it can actually help you to calm the mind in the beginning. So if you notice your thoughts drifting, very important is that you don't judge yourself. Zero judgment with this exercise. There's no right or wrong as far as that's concerned. Some people, the first step, they're still standing like this, and others are focusing too much. Yes, but am I standing wide enough? Is my back straight? Don't worry too much about all that. Just try to relax the mind as much as possible. If you notice that your thoughts drift, you don't have to do this longer than 3 minutes. We won't do that now. But if you notice your thoughts drift, that's okay. Every time that awareness is there, you're training the awareness muscle, so to speak. So, oh, my thoughts drift. I'm aware of it. I bring it back to my breathing. My breathing is my anchor. The beauty of your breathing is wherever you go, it's with you, right? So you never leave home without it. So you always have your breathing with you. So lower abdomen breathing. I'm taking slow, deep breaths, 4 seconds in, approximately 6 seconds out. This will start calming the mind. It's actually impossible to think about your breathing and count your breaths and still think about something else. So it's an anchor. It's a method you eventually want to let go again. Okay, so in the beginning, though, it's your anchor. So you're counting your breaths. You don't have to have hands like this, by the way. Put them back on your legs. And then I'm doing a body scan. I'm noticing, are my ankles relaxed? I start down low because I want to push my upper body into the ground. The sinking starts with the ankles, the knees, the legs, shoulders, arms, my jaw muscles. Notice some of you might be cleansing down on your jaw, even my facial expression. So once again, I don't completely collapse. I'm standing upright. And feel free, by the way, now of course you're looking, but you kind of gaze off in the distance. When we open our eyes like that, that's what you do when you're afraid. So that actually causes a little bit of stress, right? When you're very focused, when an animal comes in the jungle, you don't kind of look around and like that, you boom. So that can cause stress. So you kind of either want to close your eyes or kind of squint and gaze off into the distance a little bit. So even now you can feel free to squint, which is, by the way, a good tip also if you're doing public speaking or have to do presentations, that you don't overly focus on one person, right? But you're kind of like gazing around, looking around. So that also helps to calm the mind. Okay, so I'm focused, I'm sinking from the ankles, like I'm going through the quicksand, the knees, everything, and I'm focused on the deep breathing. So there's a continuous process of calming the mind, letting go, relaxing. So this is something you mentioned earlier about sharpening the swords. I often give a similar example. I have to use knives. I say the cook sharpens his knives so that when he's ready to cook, they're sharp. So obviously, when you're faced with someone attacking you or in a stressful situation at work, you can't go, hold on 1 second. Let me get into my song. Give me 2 minutes. He said 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Of course, we realize that. What it does, though, is it creates the awareness of the state on how it feels to be calm and to be relaxed. And after doing martial arts for 40 years, and not to brag about all that, and 24 years of this, I'm able to do this without anyone really noticing, although they would notice if I wasn't that. Yeah. So someone might be blah, 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 stressed, and then you keep that calmness. Now, the beauty of that, to add while we're doing this exercise, is your calmness also acts kind of like a boomerang that the other person becomes more calm. If you're driving and someone cuts you off in traffic, we can do a little side note here, and you get out and they're screaming and you're screaming and they're screaming, then you're going to create a certain situation. If someone cuts you off and you get out of the car and you come from a place of calmness, like, whoa, I saw my whole life flash before me. I thought I wasn't going to see my kids this evening. Whew, that really scared me. That creates a different situation. So by operating from a place of calmness, you'll notice that generally the people in your environment, not always, depends on their stress levels, but it'll definitely help to create an environment of calmness. So I'm going to say it one more time so it's very clear for everybody who don't want to go to replay. So the calmness, mental calmness, produces the physical relaxation. The relaxation produces the sinking. So the sinking will give you the feeling of grounding, which makes you feel a lot more confident also in negotiations and in talking and in dealing with more stressful situations. Because you're not kind of like up on your toes, so to speak. So then I focus on my feet being straight, my knees above my toes, my lower back straight, chest relaxed, shoulders up, back, and down. I'm not slouching. And every time my thoughts drift, that's fine. Kind of see it like when you work with the weight, you do this, you train your muscle. You don't say that this is not part of the training, do you? So you could say, this is my focus, now I lost my focus. This is my focus, now I lost my focus. So don't judge the losing of the focus. Okay, it's also training the awareness muscles. Oh, my awareness went, it came back. Every time it comes back, just like the muscle, you actually increase the level of focus. Okay, so this is the exercise that anyone can do just about anywhere, and you can do it sitting down, of course. You just felt you have less grounding. You can calm the mind, relax the body. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you very, very much. I actually prefer when it's standing up for sure.
Yes,
I feel the difference when standing up, because you do get to focus on the other elements. Yes,
sure. Thanks.
You do get to focus on the other elements, the grounding, the earth element. And
yes, I think I was referring more to people that may be perhaps in a wheelchair or something like that. It can work as well, or temporarily, because you can even do it lying down, all that. But the grounding, definitely, ideally, you're doing that.
Amazing.
As I say, a teacher is also always an eternal student. For the moment and that's self-mastery path as well, and the continuous growing. As soon as someone says, I know it all, I've learned it all, or even me saying I've done 40 years of martial arts. Never happens. That's when you stop, and that's when you start going back. So we always want to go out of our comfort zone. We're talking about commitment. We're talking about growing. Growing doesn't happen in your comfort zone. You want to get out of your comfort zone and continuously, when things get too comfortable, you got to start questioning, Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not learning that much here.
Exactly. Actually, this is one of the major reasons that got me to switch jobs when I was back home before I joined Growth Drive. Was at one point I was way too comfortable, and I was like not learning, not growing. I wasn't getting any value. Hi Lorena, don't worry. Like we're giving you guys a minute. We Paul and I are just having a side chat.
Anywhere.
We don't want to keep talking, but yeah, we can start actually with the Q&A. Why not? So first question, please can you explain more about the fawn response and why someone would feel this? It's like the fight or flight or fawn.
Yes, fawn is a good question. I'm nice that you picked that one out of there because it was kind of like subtly put in there. It's an important one, so perhaps it relates to someone individually. So that's a longer discussion, but I can keep it somewhat shorter. This generally speaking is related to things that happen in our youth. So I do want to stress, which I didn't mention before, if anyone's going through any traumas from their youth, then I'm not claiming that martial mind mastery is the way to go. Definitely see a professional, see a psychiatrist. It can supplement that. So if there's anyone out there, by the way, who has severe traumas from their youth or neglect, any things like this, I'm not saying this question was related to that necessarily. However, do seek professional help. Okay, so having said that, it does wanting to please someone else often does come from the parenting style or the school type that we had as a child. Yeah. So the first 7 years of our life were like a sponge.
Absolutely.
So if you're in a situation where you feel you always have to get the attention of one parent or trying to please them all the time, or things are never good enough. So a lot of these things really stem from our youth. Yeah. Then this will carry on. Into, if we're looking for external validation, for example, that's a whole different subject. The whole praise and punishment, that's a whole different subject. That's threats and bribes and carrot and stick causes a lot of issues in later life. So usually it's related, and the awareness to that. Sometimes someone might need professional help, some inner child work. You could look at hypnotherapy, which I'm a big fan of. Marissa Peer does rapid transformational therapy. You have your conscious mind, your subconscious mind. So displeasing is definitely in your subconscious mind. Yeah. So that's why perhaps the question is also answered. I'm talking a little faster right now. The question is asked, we're often not aware of it. So about 90 to 95% of our behaviors and the things we do originate from our subconscious mind. 70% of this is negative. Why? Because we're wired for survival, right? So we're always looking at the worst case scenario. So what we really want to do is bring more awareness to our conscious thoughts and our subconscious thoughts and beliefs, and then work on those limiting beliefs.
Absolutely. This reminded me, I'll give you one tip that I'm actually working on myself. Sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this also sounds like someone who uses the passive communication style more often than not, because they are people pleasers.
Yes.
They want to be kind all the time. Of course, be kind and nice and all that, but there is that difference. So being passive most of the time to avoid conflict is different from being aggressive. What you want to do is work on being assertive. Now, assertiveness doesn't mean that you are aggressive. It means just like sometimes you're grounded, you're holding your ground.
Yes, it means you have boundaries. Exactly. It means you are able to say no.
Exactly.
To set boundaries and have intrinsic motivation, not do it just to please someone else.
But always in a logical way, because you want to get to a certain goal. So my tip is there is a really cool book called The Assertiveness Workbook. I'm currently
check it out myself.
I'm currently reading this myself, so it might help as well. Give it a read if you like.
Great.
But yeah,
okay. Good question.
Thanks. So other questions, suggestions on how to fall asleep easily and sleep well.
Yes.
I'm sure you have some of those.
Great. Go to bed on time. First of all, a lot of things probably most of you heard already. So avoid screen time before going to bed. A lot of research is on that. So you really want to turn off your mobile phone, your iPad, your computer, ideally 2 hours, even 4 hours. Might be not feasible for everybody, at least 2 hours before, because it's a flickering of a screen. It causes certain brain waves to be very active. Avoid even watching TV if possible. I often recommend reading a boring book. That can help as well.
Counting sheep,
drinking herbal tea, taking a hot shower, doing things very relaxing. Way before that, 2 hours, that might be a point where you also want to journal certain things so we don't take them into bed. I mean, it's okay. That's a whole different thing of visualizing who you want to become. That's something else. But you don't really want to be planning your day in your bed at that moment. So if you have certain things you felt you didn't get out of your system, once again, I said it earlier. We're looking there, right?
No, there.
Oh, now we're. I recommend journaling because a lot of things are stuck in our head all the time, which is challenging enough. So by having a journal, it's not like it has to be a diary. It could. We write down certain things, so we can write down the things that are occupying our mind during the day, and perhaps things we don't want to forget to do the next day. It can even be that. So that's a whole different subject. And then while you're in bed, once again, breathing. So there's research done in Harvard that the 4-7-8 method works wonders. It works for me. Not that I ever stress. Of course I stress. We all still stress. Like I said, it's ongoing journal. So 4 seconds in, hold your breath for 7 seconds and exhale for 8 seconds. This actually has been proven through research. You can Google it, 4-7-8. It lowers your heart rate. Now, when you do this, my experience is, unless you start getting thoughts, oh, this isn't working, and how long should I do this? Then you're not doing it properly. If you could really stick to it, within 10, maximum 15 minutes, which may seem a long time to do it. So usually even within 5 minutes, but maximum 10 to 15, you will fall asleep. So the exhale has to be twice as long. When we did the standing meditation, that's quite long. And I don't want you to fall asleep while you're standing it. So that's to lower the heart rate a little bit. So when you breathe in 4 seconds, hold it for 7, and don't judge yourself if you can't do these exact numbers, and exhale for 8. Even if you find that challenging, breathe in very deep and make sure your exhale, once again, is as long as possible. Doing that will definitely calm the mind and help.
This is perfect advice. Thanks a lot for that. I still see we have some questions.
I don't know how everyone else is. I'm fine for time.
Yeah, maybe we'll take 5 more minutes, and for the rest, I do like to mention that this is no promotion at all, but I do want to mention that Paul has you can go to his website, martialmindmastery.com, and you can get in touch with him there, or on LinkedIn, I guess. You can also get in touch with me on LinkedIn if you have any other questions. We can hopefully get to answer them later, because we are actually 16 minutes over time right now. But
I had fun. I didn't even notice.
But yeah, me too. That's why I wanted to give this a little bit more time, because I can definitely relate to how much people can benefit from this, including myself. So I am a little bit selfish with this. So
nothing wrong with being self-care. By the way, to say that for everyone, self-care, whether you're a busy parent, is never selfish. If we don't, that's also the first battle. If we don't take care of ourselves, eat well, sleep well, work out, have time for ourselves, what quality can we bring to others? So self-care is not selfish.
Help yourself first is one of
the right. Put on the oxygen mask first.
Exactly. All right. So let's go to the other question. Can you please repeat what element is Tai Chi affiliated to? I can actually answer that, but no, I'll let you know.
So I'll try to keep that short because there's a longer story to that. So hard external styles, they took out the water and wind to make a sport out of them, because you can't measure water and wind on a scale. So 70 kilos against 70 kilos. Actually, the opposite happened. Oh, is that my hand again?
No, fine. No, you continue doing your thing.
The opposite happened in Tai Chi. So it wasn't until Mao and the Communist Revolution that actually Tai Chi used to have all the elements in it. That's a different story, but Mao didn't really like the idea of thousands of peasants, in his words, be training this lethal martial art. So they took out the earth and fire. So Wing Chun is Wing Chun also, and Tai Chi are predominantly the water and wind elements. So when you see someone out in the park doing that, of course, that's all water and wind. At a higher level in Tai Chi, you're definitely still grounded. And slow is fast. So when you do things slow, you become faster, better. When they have to move fast, they do actually move fast, but they predominantly, it's kind of like slowing down the frames of a movie. Which guess we don't really work with real film anymore. My father's director of cinematography, so I come from that. So you're slowing down, and all you have to do is then speed it up. So when you can do it really good, slow, then you only have to speed up the frame. And usually things become sloppy when you do fast. So Tai Chi is predominantly from calmness, relaxation, giving with, stepping aside, but doesn't mean you allow people to walk over you. Okay, so it's more Taoistic actually, but there's a Buddhist and Taoistic Taoism philosophy behind it. Going with the flow, being like water.
Going with the flow, exactly. All right, so we still have questions coming in, but
I love questions. I can sit for an hour. Let's go home. No, stay here. I mean, we can sit together. I didn't need that.
I know.
But if you're busy.
No, it's fine. So, okay, please explain more about what emotional triad means.
Okay, so the emotional triad is, first I want to make clear, it's not something I invented. It's used in psychology. I know more coaches use it. I believe even people like Tony Robbins use it. So it's really your choice of words, which you mentioned. So using powerful words. So if something is not working, we don't say things like, this is killing me.
Killing me.
That's like, whoa, careful there now. That's maybe use that for something else. So the choice of words, are we using powerful words that are bringing us closer to where we want to go in life? Are they taking us further away? Right? We have the white wolf and the gray wolf.
Yeah.
We have the gray wolf who's saying negative things. You're not good enough. You can't do it. You're bad. You're all these things. And then we have the white wolf who's giving us positivity. We all have these two wolves. And when I ask children, which is the one that will become stronger, which is the one that will survive, it's the one you feed. So if you feed the gray wolf, he becomes more powerful, becomes more dominant. If you feed. So there's the choice of words. And then there's the meaning. I can very briefly say that because it's a good question. If you're walking through the rain, you can shout at the rain and get angry at the rain. I have a longer version of this. You can cry, walk through the rain, I'm getting all wet. Or you can just say, okay, it's raining. I have to go from A to B. I'm going to get wet.
Or you can, sorry to interrupt, but you can say, as the Dutch say, I'm not made of sugar. Which I love.
Psycho, we say, yeah. So you're not going to know. Exactly. So it's not, so you can ask someone, is it the rain that made the person angry? Is it the rain that made the person sad? Is it the rain that made the person happy? Neither. So it's your choice on how you deal. So we're talking about the meaning. Is this the end or is it a new beginning? Have I learned from it? So the meaning we give to our circumstances, situations, and then our physiology. We didn't actually mention this one. It's actually how we hold our body. This might sound fake, kind of like fake it till you make it kind of thing, but there's some truth to that. There is some truth to that. If you get up in the morning, already put your head down and walk like this, and you're breathing, it's very difficult to feel good when you're walking like this, and different chemicals are actually producing your body. If you stand up straight, and maybe fake it a little bit in the beginning, and you just stand up straight, you breathe deep, and you have different facial expressions that are somewhat more positive. You could say that's fake, but what were those other? What is this?
Yeah.
That came also from a programming in your subconscious mind. Perhaps you had a parent to tell you you're not good enough, and you let that predominate. So this is just as fake, you could say. This is your old program. So you're just taking out old programs, putting in with new, and then they become real. Then you get up in the morning, you stand up straight, and you breathe deep, and you use empowering words, and you give empowering meaning to your day. Not this is going to be the worst day of my life, but I have a challenging day, and I'm going to make it the best day of my life. and you're going to do great, and people are going to get great value out of what you do today, and you're going to cooperate with people. So it's kind of setting the tone for your day, and do that before you go to sleep as well. So those three words from the psychology are definitely a great tool, and have been a great companion in my journey as well. Thank
you so much. We'll take one more question. And hopefully, I'm sure we'll have Paul again here for another webinar, hopefully even like not online, even hybrid, like some people can come to our office. We'd love to get that interaction going on, but let's.
And I love to travel, so Finland.
Yeah. Of course. So we'll take one more question, and then for the other questions, feel free again to reach out on LinkedIn and let us know. Last question that we'll take is, what martial arts do you recommend for someone who is passive, get out anger, decrease depression and anxiety? Now, it's like, since you have a lot of experience with the different types of martial arts.
Yes, I did the hard external styles, Taekwondo for 6 years, Rinji Kempo, kickboxing.
So your perspective basically is based on those different experiences. So it's not just like you're not gonna probably recommend Wing Chun just because you do Wing Chun right now.
Exactly. Very good point. In fact, I think I said that briefly earlier, that it's not for me to say that one is better than the other. Also, for other people doing other martial arts, all martial arts have their benefits, but they also have their strong sides and maybe sides that aren't as strong that you want to develop. So it's really based on you as a person. And I, first of all, highly recommend trying out a few different ones to see what resonates. And then it's also important the teacher, of course. I mean, you can have a great system but a lousy teacher, and you can have a lousy system and a great. So ideally, you're finding a system that really suits you and then a teacher that motivates you. My experience, and some research has been done on that, and that's not to knock a certain martial arts. Like I said, for many people, it's the most beautiful sport they're doing. If you look at, for example, kickboxing, it has been shown with children, for example, that they actually become a little bit more aggressive, and it's more the stronger are good at it. But for other people, they find it great because it's mainly hard and they're just kicking bags and punching bags, letting out steam. So if that's your way of letting it out, now what I like about Wing Chun, of course, I've been doing that for 24 years, so I'm obviously enthusiastic, is that it has all the elements. So we start a lesson with relaxation and meditation and doing our form very, very slow. It's the style that Bruce Lee did, not what he did later in the movies. I recommend looking at Ip Man movie, the teacher,
amazing movie,
IP, like IP address.
IP Man.
IP Man. He was Bruce Lee's teacher. So it has the calmness, it has the relaxation. To me, life is really about a balance. Yin and yang. We want to find balance in everything we do. And that's the beauty of a martial mind done with all the elements, is that you have the water and wind, you have the earth and fire. So our lessons end with earth and fire. We have pad training, you get the punch. I always say respect the person holding the pad, but disrespect the pad. So there you can also cultivate the earth and fire. But every individual within the class, some need more yin, which is more the female energy, you could say, the feminine energy without being female. The more the calmness, relaxation, some need more the yang energy. So you can, within the realms of a soft internal style, you can cultivate those particular elements that you need more, that best suit you. So it's a personal journey. For me personally, Wing Chun worked the best. I would say try out as many schools as possible.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. So yeah, with this, I guess we can conclude our webinar today. Everybody, thanks a lot for joining. I had a blast. I hope you did as well. For those who didn't give us feedback, please give us a minute and go back and give us the feedback. I know like part of the feedback is fixing the camera. We'll get on that. We'll get on that next time. This is my feedback to myself anyway. But yeah, thanks a lot. And
I also stress that I would love to, if that's okay, if people really want to go into more depth, I can't say I'm going to take out weeks or months, but I don't mind personally answering some of these questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well. Yeah.
So they'll be sent to you or whatever. Come visit the martialmindmastery.com if you want one-on-one coaching or small group coaching that can be online or in person, or like a master class. I'm promoting myself a little bit.
No, go ahead.
But by all means, but in answering these questions, of course, it's just part of this webinar. So
and LinkedIn is also open. You can find Paul over there, Paul Resnick, by the way.
Paul Resnick, Sifu Paul for him because he's a student now.
Exactly. But anyway, again, thanks a lot for joining, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Great.